Shai Gilgeous-Alexander isn't just scoring, he's rewriting how scoring works in the NBA. And the craziest part is most people don't even see it happening. But if you've ever played the game the right way, if you care about footwork, timing, control, you feel it immediately. Because nothing about him looks overwhelming at first glance. He's not the fastest guy on the floor. He's not jumping out of the gym. He's not bullying defenders with raw strength. And yet, night after night, he walks into games and gives you 30 like it's routine. So here's the real question. If he's not beating players with speed or power, then what exactly is he doing? And more importantly, why does it feel like defenders already lost before he even makes his move? That's the part nobody talks about, because what Shai is doing doesn't show up in highlights the same way. It doesn't explode off the screen, it creeps up on you. One possession at a time, one hesitation, one step, one tiny shift that you almost miss. But those small moments are where the real game is being decided. If you stay until the end of this video, you're going to see exactly what's happening under the surface. Not just how Shai scores, but why his way of scoring might actually change how the next generation learns basketball. Because this isn't just about one player, this is about a shift. But to understand why this matters, you need to see what the NBA used to reward. For years, the NBA has been built around one core idea: explosiveness wins. If you can get from point A to point B faster than everyone else, you have an advantage. If you can jump higher, finish stronger, move quicker, you dominate. That's why players like Ja Morant feel unstoppable in open space. That's why Anthony Edwards can just rise over defenders and make it look effortless. The league has always leaned toward players who can overwhelm you physically, and it makes sense. Speed creates separation, power finishes through contact. Athleticism covers mistakes, but here's the problem. What happens when someone doesn't rely on any of that? Because Shai doesn't play like that. He doesn't rush. He doesn't explode past defenders in straight lines. He doesn't force the game to move faster. He slows it down. And that alone already breaks the system most defenders are trained to operate in. See, defenders in today's NBA are taught to react to speed. They're trained to anticipate quick first steps, sudden drives, aggressive downhill pressure. Everything is built around reacting fast enough. But what happens when the offense refuses to be fast? That's where things start to fall apart, because Shai plays at a pace that feels almost uncomfortable. It's not slow in a lazy way. It's controlled, intentional. He's not reacting to the defense. He's waiting for the defense to react to him, and that's a completely different game. Now, if you're just watching casually, you might miss it. You might think he's just being smooth, just being patient, but there's a reason ethical hoopers keep bringing his name up, because what he's doing is fundamentally sound at a level that most NBA players don't even need to reach. Footwork, balance, timing, angles, these are things you learn in quiet gyms, not in highlight reels. And Shai has mastered all of them. Think about it like this. Most players are trying to beat you to a spot. Shai is trying to make you step out of position before he even decides where to go. That's why defenders look off balance against him, not because he's faster, but because they're always just a little bit late, just a fraction of a second behind. And at the highest level of basketball, that fraction is everything. So when people say he's efficient, that he gets easy looks, they're only seeing the result. They're not seeing the setup. They're not seeing the way he's already won the possession before the shot even happens. And that's why his game feels different, because it is different. It's not built on chaos. It's built on control. And once you start noticing it, you can't unsee it. If you've ever played basketball and felt that moment where everything slows down, where you're not rushing, where you're just reading and reacting one step ahead, then you already know how rare that feeling is. Now imagine doing that against the best athletes in the world. That's what Shai is doing every night. And if that idea clicks for you, if you start seeing the game through that lens, you're going to notice things you never noticed before, not just with Shai, but with the entire league. Because suddenly the question isn't who's the most athletic anymore. It's who's actually in control. And once you see that, everything else starts to change. But once you zoom into how he actually scores, everything starts to change. Here's the first thing nobody tells you about Shai. He's not beating defenders with speed. He's beating them with time. Watch a single possession closely, not the highlight. Not the finish, the seconds before anything happens. He brings the ball up, nothing rushed. Defender's already locked in, low stance, ready to slide. And then Shai pauses, not long enough to look passive, just long enough to make the defender think something is coming. That tiny hesitation is everything, because the defender has a choice to make. Do I step up? Do I stay back? Do I cut off the drive? Do I anticipate the pull-up? And the moment they decide, even slightly, they've already lost. Shai doesn't need to be faster than you if he can control when you move. He's not trying to win a race, he's setting a rhythm, then breaking it. One dribble fast, one dribble slow, sudden stop, slight lean, then explode just enough, not full speed, just enough to get you off balance. And that's the key. He doesn't create space by outrunning you. He creates space by making you step at the wrong time. There's a possession you've probably seen without realizing what made it special. He drives left, slows down mid lane, almost looks like he's picking up his dribble. The defender relaxes for half a second, then Shai extends, glides, finishes. No crazy move, no highlight burst, just perfect timing, and this shows up over and over again. Hesitation dribbles that don't look dramatic, but freeze defenders. Stop and go sequences where the defender commits too early. Even the way he uses his shoulders to fake direction before his feet ever change. Everything is about shifting the defender's internal clock. Because defense at this level is built on prediction. You're not reacting after the move, you're reacting before it happens. You're guessing. Shai knows that, so he feeds you the wrong information. He shows you a drive that isn't coming. He suggests a pull-up that never happens. He slows down when you expect speed. He speeds up when you think he's done. And by the time you realize it, you're already chasing. This is why so many elite defenders look average against him. It's not that they forgot how to defend, it's that they're playing the wrong game. They're playing speed, he's playing timing. And once you understand that, you start to see something deeper. Because controlling time is one thing, controlling space is another, and Shai does both. And if you think the timing part is impressive, the next layer is where it gets scary. People say Shai gets easy calls, that he lives at the free throw line, that he benefits from soft whistles. But what they don't realize is he creates the contact before the defender even understands what's happening. This isn't luck, this isn't flopping, this is positioning. Watch how he drives into the lane. He's not trying to avoid contact. He's guiding the defender into it. He gets his shoulder slightly ahead. He angles his body so the defender has to reach across. He places himself between the ball and the defender at just the right moment. By the time contact happens, it's already too late. Because the defender isn't hitting him by accident, they've been led into that position. It's like a chess move set up 3 steps earlier. And this is where most people misunderstand his game. They think he's reacting to defense, drawing fouls when opportunities appear. In reality, he's scripting the entire interaction. He decides where the contact will happen. He decides when the defender will feel pressure. He decides how the angle will force a reach. That's why it looks so clean, because it's intentional. There's a sequence where he drives baseline, slows down just enough for the defender to recover, then leans into them at the exact moment their momentum shifts forward. Whistle, if you slow it down, you see it clearly. The defender's not initiating, they're following. And that's the difference between manipulation and reaction. One is control, the other is survival. Shai lives in control. And here's where it flips everything people think they know. Because if you can control both time and space, then the defense is never actually dictating anything. They're just responding. That means every possession starts on Shai's terms. Every drive, every pull-up, every step into the paint is already designed before it happens. So now I want to ask you something. When you watch him play, do you think he's just flowing with the game? Or do you think he's quietly designing it? Because if you've made it this far, you're probably starting to see it differently. And I'm curious, do you think this is skill that can be taught, or is this something only a few players in the world can ever master? Let me know what you think, because this next part might completely change how you judge efficiency in the NBA. So now the question isn't if this works, it's how consistent it really is. Now let's test this. Because if everything we just talked about is real, it shouldn't just show up in flashes. It should show up everywhere, every quarter, every situation, against every type of defender. And when you actually look at the numbers, it gets even more interesting. Shai isn't just scoring a lot. He's scoring efficiently at a level that doesn't match how difficult his shots look. Mid-range pull-ups, contested finishes, drives into traffic. These are usually low percentage plays for most players. For him, they're routine. There are games where he'll take 22 shots and still end up with over 30 points. Not because he's forcing anything, but because almost every possession ends with a controlled, calculated decision. He's not taking what the defense gives him. He's guiding the defense into giving him what he already wants. And you see it late in games. Fourth quarter, close score, everyone knows the ball is going to him. The defense tightens, help comes earlier, rotations are sharper. And somehow the result stays the same. He gets to his spot. He slows the game down. He reads one step ahead, bucket. There's a sequence against a top defensive team where he isolated at the top. The defender shaded him right. Help was waiting at the nail. Everything was set to stop the drive. Shai took one dribble forward, paused, slightly turned his hips like he was pulling up. The help defender froze for half a second. That was it. Next step, lane opens, finish at the rim. It doesn't look dramatic, but that half second is the entire game. And when you stack possessions like that over a full game, you start to see the pattern. He's not creating highlights, he's eliminating mistakes. That's what separates him. Most superstars win by doing more speed, more power, more volume. Shai wins by doing less wrong. Fewer rush shots, fewer forced drives, fewer bad reads, and over time, that compounds. Because basketball at the highest level is not just about what you can do, it's about what you don't mess up, and Shai almost never puts himself in a bad position. That's why his efficiency holds, that's why his scoring translates. That's why defenses can't figure him out the way they do with other stars. There's nothing obvious to take away because his advantage isn't one move. It's decision making. And once you realize that, you start to see something bigger. Because if this approach works at this level, it changes what we value. It's no longer just about who jumps higher or runs faster. It's about who thinks faster, who controls better, who makes fewer mistakes under pressure. And that might be the most dangerous type of player moving forward. Because it scales, you can scheme against athleticism, you can load up against strength, you can force players into uncomfortable spots. But how do you scheme against someone who is always one step ahead of your reaction? That's a different problem, and this is where it stops being just about Shai. Because younger players are watching this. High school players, college guards, even pros, they're starting to see that you don't have to play fast to be effective. You don't have to rely on explosiveness to dominate. You can control the game instead. And if that idea spreads, the league changes. You get more players focused on footwork, more players mastering pace, more players understanding angles instead of just speed. That's how eras shift. Not overnight, but gradually. One player proving something works, then others following, and suddenly what used to look unique becomes the new standard. And Shai might be at the center of that shift because he's showing that dominance doesn't have to look loud. It can be quiet, controlled, efficient, and maybe that's the future. A league where the best player isn't the most explosive one. It's the one who makes the fewest mistakes. So now the real question is not just how good Shai can become. It's how many players are going to start playing like him. And if you want to keep seeing breakdowns like this, if you want to understand the game on a deeper level that most people miss, you already know what to do. Because the next time this evolution shows up, you won't want to be late to it.